12th at just 3 o'clock. And we're going to kick off the show by giving you a weather update. So the National Weather Service has issued a winter storm warning for all of Rhode Island. It kicks in tonight at 11 o'clock and lasts until 8 o'clock Tuesday night. So the storm, according to the National Weather Service, is supposed to start at about 10 o'clock this evening. And the National Weather Service is forecasting anywhere from about 10 to 15 inches of snow for Providence. So if you want more information on the weather, you can go over to our website at GoLocalProv.com and get the latest there. We have a packed show for you this afternoon. We're talking to Robin Garceau of Robin Garceau Interiors. She's kicking things off here. She's joining me in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. Robin, it's so nice to see you, as always, on Mondays.
Nice to see you, Molly.
So we're talking about something that a lot of people take on in their homes, and when they do, it can be very overwhelming for some. You are going to help people today survive a kitchen renovation. When people call you and they're like, hey, I want to renovate my kitchen, I want to upgrade, do people call you like in a state of chaos, overwhelming? Like, how do people approach you when they're talking about the subject?
When they actually start, they call me and we start to discuss a timeline as far as the kitchen renovation.
Yeah.
And the reason I wanted to talk about it today was because this is really the time of year to start preparing for it.
Okay.
So I feel the best time of year to do a kitchen renovation is through the summer. It allows you to be able to grill outside. It's a little easier because it's warmer, and you don't necessarily have to worry about lunches for your kids and things like that. It's not as chaotic usually in the summertime. So for a kitchen renovation, I just think it is a nice way to, a nice time of year to do it, yeah.
Okay, so the time to start planning is now.
Yes.
And you think the best time to do this is in the summer, and I absolutely think that makes the most sense. And I feel like we know she's the expert here. So we're going to help you survive a kitchen renovation today. I myself have not gone through one, but I know many people who have. I've walked into their homes, and it can be very chaotic. It can be very stressful for people, but we want to minimize that today, and Robin is the expert, so she's going to walk us through it. So you say the first thing is forget about colors, forget about texture, forget about your appliances, stop. Just stop doing that. The first thing you need to do is make a plan.
Make a plan.
Okay.
You want to start to talk to different contractors. How big of a job is this going to be? Are you just going to redo your cabinetry, or are you going to add on to your house? If you're going to bump out a wall, that to me is a major renovation. You may want to bump out that wall and add a guest bathroom, a laundry room, and so now the whole area, it is a kitchen renovation, but it's really the bathroom and laundry and everything, so it just makes your whole house more functional. So that to me is really where you want to start. How big is the job? Then you start to figure out who you're going to get as your contractor, which if you are going to do a renovation of that length, you really want to have maybe a general contractor, a project manager. You may want to hire a firm per se, rather than just a contractor who's going to rip out kitchen and that kind of thing.
Because it could end up being longer, right?
Right. Well, what you have to decide, you have to decide too. You're going to hire a general contractor. What that is the person who's going to oversee your plumber, your electrician, the tile installation, all of those people. So if you don't hire somebody to oversee that, you're the one that's going to have to actually do it yourself. And are you going to want to take that on? Because it does get pretty intricate. You have to schedule certain people at certain times to kind of work off of each other. So it really does get complicated. And I don't know if you're going to want to do that yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what the general contractor is, or the project manager.
Okay, so that's something that you need to decide. Hey, maybe that's what you do, and maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe that fits for you and what you're doing for your home, but definitely something that you need to think about when you're creating your plan. The next thing is consider hiring someone like Robin for the fun part of it, not the wiring and everything, but the aspects of it, what you want it to look like.
Exactly. So when you start a kitchen project, so one of my clients right now, she's contemplating the whole bumping the wall out, extending the kitchen out, making the lavette, and in a laundry room as well. So someone that knows interiors as well as structural can help with the architectural design as well as the colors and things like that. But that whole structural aspect is really important right from the beginning. So you don't even really talk about colors and things until you have specific plans laid out 1, 2, 3, 4.
And it makes sense too, because you see a lot of times you want to be able to work with what you want and the flow of your family and your flow of your everyday life. And so you might know in your head what you want, but you need to work with people that understand the home, the bones, the structure, and making sure it works for you. So it's good to have people on your team that can make it all come together.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
And that's where you come in.
Yeah.
All right, so a couple other things that you said in the plan, and you kind of talked a little bit about this, but the scheduling. So, and when you're in terms of picking a general contractor, they can be tough to get in because they're very busy. So getting them on a schedule can be tough. Talk about that and just coordinating people.
Exactly. Especially now, everybody is so busy that if you're thinking about it, you can't call them up and expect them to be there in even 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Geez. You may have to schedule them like 2 or 3 months out, especially for a project of this size.
Wow.
So you really do want to start thinking about it now if you want it to start taking place, say in June, because you need to take those steps in order to get them on their schedule to get you where you want to be for this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now really is the time to start. If you're thinking, oh, I'm sick of these cupboards, I'm sick of these cabinets, not enough storage.
Start calling contractors now, because then you want to get on their calendar, because they might say to you, you know what, I'm busy right now, but I can fit you in July. That's when we can start it. And you also want to make sure that they give you a timeline.
Okay.
And stick to it. There are, some contractors, they're not as organized as other contractors or design build firms. So you want to choose somebody that says, okay, we're going to be doing this week, this week, this week. These are when your deadlines are for all your finishes and that kind of thing. When you're organized, that's when you can stay on task, on budget. Well, try to stay on budget and on time. Yeah, that's really, really important. And the other thing I wanted to say about general contractors too is once you make that choice, you want to make sure that they are getting all the proper permitting as well for your kitchen and your new design build, because it's really ultimately up to the homeowner to make sure that's all done properly, number one. And number two, you want to make sure you have a second set of eyes on your electrical, your plumbing, and make sure it's all up to code. And not only that, if you choose to sell your house down the road, in your disclosures, which is by law you have to do a set of disclosures when you sell your home, there is a section in there that asks you, have you gotten all the pertinent permits while you lived at your property? So you really do. For me, I like the idea when I have somebody working in my house, I want to see a copy of the permit. I get a copy of it, I put it in a file, so when I'm ready to sell my house, I know this was done, this was done, this was done. And I just feel it's really important.
Wow, taking on that responsibility, so definitely worth the extra investment, sounds like. Okay, so definitely making sure you're on track with that general contractor and keeping them to the schedule. Okay, so the next thing to think about, we're going to ask you to scoot over, it looks like. Robin, thank you. Come a little closer. We're going to warm up in here. Okay, to think about a temporary kitchen setup, that's a lot of times you hear people say the kitchen can be the hub of the home. And so to disrupt that hub of the home can be very chaotic. So maybe the kitchen, or renovating the kitchen to do that in the summertime, it can be less chaotic, less disruptive. But what can we do to have a temporary kitchen setup if you are just totally diving in and tearing everything apart?
If you are tearing things apart and you are bumping out a wall or doing a major renovation, number one, you might want to consider taking a week and go spending it at a hotel when they're doing the demo work, because it is a mess, and I would get out of there when you can. The other thing is,
and that's when those timelines really do come in.
It really is,
important.
because you need to set things up. You have to include those things in your budget. You don't ever think of things like that, but you may want to be away when they're actually doing the demo work. But you had asked me something.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's right.
Setting up a temporary kitchen.
That's what it is. The temporary kitchen. You can actually run some plumbing and do a temporary kitchen in maybe an adjacent area. So you could have a sink and a cabinet, and you take out one of the old cabinets, use it on the side in this adjacent area with the sink. You run some plumbing through it, and you may have a little bit of a counter area, and you put a microwave on it. You do that kind of thing. Maybe put the fridge in the garage. And that way, you at least have something somewhere, so you're not washing your dishes in the bathroom sink and that kind of thing. So if you're going to be doing this, you know what? Spend a little bit of money and run the plumbing somewhere else. So put cabinets in your garage or wherever you can, in your dining room, and try to get it done that way. So at least you have a place to go out and do that.
I like that too, because you don't want to be eating takeout every single meal, because that could be, one, very expensive, and a lot of takeout for a long time.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this as well, budget, because this can be it can be an expensive project, depending on what you're doing. You know, maybe you're adding a garbage disposal, but then you're like, oh, well, let's add a dishwasher as well. And then you're like, well, we put in a new dishwasher, so let's get a fridge to match. You know, okay, well, now we're going to get a new stove as well. You know, it just keeps adding up. So talk to us about planning for a budget, and then what else we have to do with that budget.
Well, what you want to do is, obviously, your appliances. Most of the time, you end up buying new appliances. I mean, a refrigerator can be $2,800. It can be $8,800. So it really depends on what you want to spend on your appliances. But you really cannot even order your kitchen cabinets unless your appliances are chosen.
Wow.
Because then you need to take those specifications and send them to the kitchen place. So when you're talking about your budget, figure on the appliances, and a lot of times when you do a group of appliances, they do give discounts for that. So that's always a good thing too. You have to always think about, okay, what am I doing? I'm going to do the backsplash, I'm going to do the kitchen cabinets, I'm going to do the floor, we're going to do a bathroom. It does snowball. I call them bells and whistles when you talk about your kitchen cabinetry. So for instance, I'm working on another kitchen, and we picked out this beautiful finish on the cabinets. It's all hand done. And then we did inset doors. And it's not a very big kitchen, so you get the price and you're all excited, and it's like, oh my God. Okay, so now we're going to reprice that same exact kitchen with full overlay doors instead of inset doors, and maybe not do the hand done finish. And that may take it down $15,000, $20,000. So there are ways to do things. Yeah. So you do it in a way where, okay, maybe we want this, but you can drop it down here to here to here based on the bells and whistles. Okay.
So set that budget.
Set the budget and then add 20%. I always tell people, just add the 20% to your budget, because you know, when you're focusing on tile and you love something and it's, you know, $80 a square foot or something, and you're like, oh my God, I have to have it. And that's when things start to snowball a little bit more. And you don't want to get frustrated.
That's true.
It's easier to just go from a budget from, I'm going to spend this, to, okay, I have no budget, here it is. And I've talked about this before about other interior spaces. When you say, I don't have a budget, or we start from zero, every little dollar you spend gets to be like, you cringe because it's this, and this. Rather than, here's the amount, this is what we're spending, add a little bit more because we know we'll probably go over. And if we don't, that's great. But at least if you do that, you'll feel better in the long run.
Plus then, if you have extra charges that you weren't anticipating, like the contractor has a permit that costs more, whatever, I don't know, just miscellaneous charges that you weren't anticipating, you can pay for that because you added 20%.
And you start ripping out cabinets and you do new plumbing, and all of a sudden,
there's a problem.
There's a problem behind there. You might have had water damage. Things have to be pulled out and replaced.
Exactly.
Your floor you might need new subflooring that you didn't anticipate. So there's definitely issues once you start pulling things apart.
And if you don't go over budget, you can buy a new blender or something, right?
Exactly.
Treat yourself to something nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that was kind of part of the planning. The second step for surviving, and those were all like sub parts for the planning stages, then you say you can actually get into the structural design of the kitchen. So yourself can come in, interior designer, and you can have some fun deciding what's going to go where, what you can look at. How do we step into that structural design aspect of the kitchen?
Once we have the basic measurements of the kitchen, then you say to yourself, okay, what do I want and what do I need? Do I bake? Do I cook a lot? I need a lot of drawers for pans. You may want drawers instead of cupboards, like with the doors. Do you need trays? A lot of trays. Do you need spice racks? Do you love to bake? So I need a lot for baking, bakeware, that kind of thing. Do you entertain a lot? You need a lot of cupboard space for glasses and wine glasses and things like that. So those are all the things you want to start making a list of. Trash. Do you need one trash? Do you need two trash? Do you want the trash with the recycle? Do you want double ones of those? There's so many different things that you can do. And again, those are the bells and whistles we talked about. You might want pullouts. Once you start saying, okay, these are the things I absolutely need, and these are the things that I want, when you're in that budget situation, then you can say, okay, well, I don't really need that. I wanted it, but I don't necessarily need it. And then we start really getting into the design and the look of it. What kind of hood do you want? Do you want to put the, do you have a cooktop in your island, or is the cooktop, or is the stove over to the left or somewhere on against the wall with a gorgeous concave hood, that kind of thing? Do you want like a really cool French oven, or do you want like stainless steel? Do you want cabinet-ready panel refrigerators? That's that is doing a lot of that with people right now. There are so many different types of refrigerators that may be cabinet panel ready, but yet they're not flush mounted. They're not inserted flush. They stand proud. It's called it stands proud. When you have the cabinet panel on there and it stands proud, you see the side edge of the refrigerator. So are you going to be okay with that? These are all questions that you need to ask your kitchen designer. And so someone like me would be working in conjunction with the kitchen designer, not instead of the kitchen designer, because they'll be able to tell you, this is the brand, this is the type of wood it is, they offer this, this, and this. This is how we can fit this drawer in, and we may need a filler on this side, but you got this on this side. Those are the people that are extremely familiar with the components. And then we come in and say, you know what, we want drawers on over here to balance this off and that kind of thing. Then you get into colors.
And that's where the last step is, it sounds like. Lastly, we get into colors.
Yeah. There's a lot to do to prepare before you even get to that stage. And as an interior designer, I'm always like, okay, yeah, of course I want it to be beautiful and the colors and things like that. But if you're working with an interior designer that understands structural, then they will guide you toward the steps that you need to do before you even get into the colors and the look and the style and all of that, because there are so many steps that you need to take before you even get to that point.
We didn't even get our hands on a kitchen. We were just helping you survive. Robin, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And I bet it helps to balance because you have the interior design aspect, you have the real estate aspect, so I bet your involvement really helps you tackle a lot of kitchens. And then, of course, the kitchen designers. You have a lot of expertise in this area.
Well, it's important, too, because then you say to yourself, okay, how long will you be in the house? How much do you want to spend, and will you get your money back, or are you overvaluing what you're doing at that point? So there is a lot to be said for someone who understands structural and construction, understands design, and understands real estate.
Real estate aspect.
So it's all intertwined. It really is. The whole industry is all intertwined. So when you get a seasoned person, it can really help.
And I bet, I think a lot of people look at homes when they see a kitchen, it makes a big difference. When they're buying,
most of the
when
time
they're selling,
you're going in, you're buying a house for the kitchen and the bathrooms and the layout. But
the kitchen makes a huge
if you have a
difference.
beautiful kitchen, absolutely, most of the time it goes like that.
Well,
Yeah.
Hopefully we just helped you survive a little bit if you're thinking about renovating. We had the tips to help you survive that kitchen renovation. So Robin Garceau with Robin Garceau Interiors, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Always a pleasure.
It is.
All right, we're going to get a quick setup here for our next guest on GoLocal Live. Hang tight with us. Thank you so much, Robin. That was